I had this pen and paper and started writing a lot of data points, like where does the attack coming from? Is it from a right, left, or center? How many crosses are coming from right? How many crosses are coming from left? So I did only for first half. I got bored, because you, as an analyst, you need to watch each and everything which comes over there, and you'll never enjoy the match as a fan.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Living Seagull episode 3. Today we have Mr. Naveen Ningaiah, who is the founder and the CEO of SportsKPI. Hi Naveen.
Hey, hi, thanks.
So SportsKPI, an interesting name. KPI, it stands for Key Performance Indicator. So as the name suggests, it works towards performance. Now, so as we know that sports, it's a very performance driven activity. So his venture is working towards how it can be more formalized through technology, analytics and maths and knowledge. So yeah, Naveen, just help us to know about more.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Love to be here on this day. We started off as SportsKPI majorly to look at how we can help out professional teams to use technology, to use science, and try to help them to improve their performance. So typically, if you've seen the Indian sports ecosystem, maybe for a cricket, like there's been there for quite long in terms of the technology being used, a lot of crunching of numbers being there quite a lot. But then if you look at other sports where these kind of things have become a very nascent for us, in terms of, hey, the coaches have that kind of a dilemma in terms of, hey, how do I use technology? How is it going to help me out or not? So does it really make sense in order to drive this performance, to try to give the feedback to the players or not? And that's when we figured out, hey, we need to keep track of all this information. And obviously it's not every information is very much vital to a coach, but because the numbers can lie in terms of the way you present that to the coaches as well. But you need to have an understanding in terms of what the coach's requirements are, how much they want to look at in terms of the performance to be enhanced. So it has to work on a tandem with the coach's requirements as well. All right. So we want to drive this, bringing analytics, the maths behind sports, and try to help the performance can be made it much more better than what's been currently been here.
So how did this idea of SportsKPI came to your mind?
Right. It's quite a long story around. So I myself, I worked as a software engineer, worked for like 10 years in multiple companies around. And I always had this thing about sports. I mean, I myself was to play for my college, school and all, but I always wanted to work in sport. That was my first, more than running a company. It was all about working with a team, traveling to see what the coach will tell them in the halftime. What is the behavior of a player once they lose or once they win, when they go back from the bus to the hotels, That was more fascinating for me to understand what really goes in. And I figured out that, hey, but if you want to be in a sports team, you either be a player, you either to be a coach, either you could be a medical practitioner, it could be a physio or a doctor, things. And there's no other way to be in the sports field. And I'm neither of them, So then I started reading all these things, and then I was to conduct a sports meet, which was to be a meetup there, to do my get in connection with people around. And that's when I felt, I started reading about analytics, what's been happening abroad, what you can do, something called as notation analysis. It's a very simple way of, on a pen and paper, watching a game, trying to pick up some numbers around, and then show that particular to the coaches and how it happened. So it so happened, it's a small story if I can just mention that. So I was just being part of the industry in terms of, I was very passionate about, I'm okay to do anything. I'm okay to do marketing, I can okay to do sell tickets, do volunteer management, anything. But I didn't know what exactly I want to do. That's the thing, you will find a lot of people coming now, it's like, hey, I'm okay to do anything, but don't have the exact kind of your skills, say, okay, I can help you with this. And it so happened that there was this, back in 2012, we had this BFC versus the Indian national team was camping in Bangalore. I think Wim Kuvermans were the coach at that point of time, the Indian national team. And they were playing a friendly game in the stadium opposite to Garuda Mall. And I just happened to go there. I've been reading things on how to analyze a football match. So I had this pen and paper and started writing a lot of data points. Like where does the attack coming from? Is it from a right, left, or center? How many crosses are coming from right? How many crosses are coming from left? So I did only for first half. I got bored, because you, as an analyst, you need to watch each and everything which comes over there, and you'll never enjoy the match as a fan. So I did for first half. I got bored. I'm like, okay, let's watch the game. And I just went down after the game got over. The coaches were there. I just showed the coach, the assistant coach was there, Mr. Pradyum Reddy, and I showed him, coach, I've done something of the sort. So way back in 2012, and BFC were just starting off and everything. So he just told me that, hey Naveen, so there's a company coming from Pune. They do this video on software. So would you like to come and learn that particular system over there? That gave me a stepping stone in terms of, what's the next thing I can do. So I went there, got some training, and then that's when I could work with BFC as a part-time to work on the analysis front. So that's I think a small story which came.
Okay, interesting. So, I mean, see, as compared to the Europe and the America, so our country, we are, I would say, behind in the race in using technology to enhance performance in sports.
Right.
And even now, when there is so much of buzz in sports, what we are seeing is the usage of technology or data analytics and everything is confined to the national teams and the premier clubs, say even ISL for that matter, or PKL. So how do we intend to take the usage of sports analytics in a much more granular level, let's say a state level or a district level?
Right. So I would say, it's changing. What I could say it as, previously, yes, at a different level, you had teams at the senior mo team or the professional team. They had this, but now I'll give an example for Indian Football Federation. Okay, so it's been there for the national team. Even now, the Indian national women's team is also using this particular thing. So we support the Indian national women's team as well. And now what Indian AFF has done is they've also started looking at this analysis at the age of under 19s, under 17s, under 15 as well. So we have this under 17 Women's World Cup coming up. So they already have an analyst from past 6 months and doing all those kind of analysis for them. And you would study who are the opponents you're going to play against in the World Cup, what's going to be happening, and such stuff. So it's been coming up in different areas. And if you can even see, instead of more of a national team or a state team, if you look at academies, we have a lot of academies where the talents come from, where the training happens at the age of 15, 13, and even 12 or 19 as well. So they have started looking at this analysis at the much lower levels. We have one academy, we work in Bangalore itself, very new coach, and he is trying to bring in that, hey, what I can do for under 12 coach or maybe under 12 kids. And in terms of the way he receives the ball, can you start a basic on video analysis, what they're trying to do it? And we are helping them in trying to figure out how this thing can be done. So at a lower level, what I can say at a grassroots level, things are taking place. And then because if these kids will understand this analysis at that level, when they go to the national team, they are well aware that this kind of thing exists. But maybe the older generation, maybe 2-3 years before, where the national team, maybe this is the first time they're seeing this kind of stuff. But now every kid is getting much more understanding what really happens. And those things are changing because we are actually getting a lot more technical advanced coaches who are coming out of the market as well.
Mm-hmm. So Naveen, what is that process of the input of data and till the point where you come to a conclusion that, okay, this is what needs to be done? So just run us through that process. So is there any third-party tools or softwares which you use, or is there any just watching and a video data, or how does it work?
Okay, so our process you're talking about, right? So see, majorly for us, it's we always focus on a team perspective and also from a coach's point of view, what exactly a coach would look at from that particular season, and then what is he looking at in terms of the overall season perspective coming in. If you look at the overall gamut of a club at a tournament level, let's say it's a professional league, would be an ISL team or a pro kabaddi team and everything. They've got 3 stages in which they want to look at information for. One, how do I build up a team? It's called scouting, right? How do I build the best team in the least cost, which can actually win me a championship? That's what they want, So they all depend on different parties, like coaches. They would say, hey, I want to buy this player, he seems to be good, and we're going to validate that with the information. We even go and watch a lot of local tournaments as well to find out any youngsters coming out of this particular this thing, which can be useful for the auction as well. Okay, so that comes as a part of building a scouting team. Then these set of players will go into pre-season. Pre-season is where before the season starts, before the tournament starts, you have a 1 month of camp where the fitness camp and everything comes in the picture. So the fitness tracking, the GPS, how much is the injuries and everything. So all this has been done with a medical team. So, but this information has to be kept stored, which can be useful for much more information. Yeah. So we track those information as well in terms of who's been fitter, is he lead to an injury or not. So what has been workload has been happening on day in, day out. So that's what being tracked across. And the third part comes when the season starts off. It's called performance analysis of the matches we do. So I'm going to play against an opponent. So we do an opponent study. Okay, to give an example, let's say in IPL, we're working with let's say an RCB team, and we're going to play against Mumbai Indians. So what are the strengths and weaknesses of Mumbai Indians? Who are the key players are being there? How do I need to bowl to that particular batsman to get him out? Okay, so these kind of study happens. We give the input to the coaches, and they figure out what information to be communicated to the players or not. Because coaches are the one who understand the psychological effect of a player. It can't be that they can't just feed in every information to a player because it goes off. So there are specific things which they need to see what to be communicated, what not to be communicated. And post the game, we also look at what happened in the match. Why did we lose that particular match? What was the turning point which really made that particular point across? So even that happens as a post-match analysis. Okay.
Are you into cricket as well?
Cricket, no. Cricket we do more from a content point of things, but nothing on analysis as such. So currently the biggest sports right now for us is in football, kabaddi, and we're trying to move into tennis as well. That is, tennis is one we're exploring right now. We were there at the Bengaluru Open, which just recently last month got finished. So we got in touch with a lot of top-end tennis players who play for the country, and also for the coach. And I also be meeting a couple of coaches around on tennis analytics as well. It's one of the, I don't think currently Indian tennis analytics has been used at that level. I see a lot of potential in that particular thing coming up.
So what is the reason, I mean, I understand in a team sport like football and kabaddi, but how about exploring the individual sports, something like badminton or athletics?
Sure, I think badminton, athletics, I would say I'll give an example of rowing. I was there at Sai Trivandrum. They had called us for doing a session for the football coaches over there. And they even actually had called us, they're exploring to look at analytics for athletics. What kind of, the coach wants to look at the stride length, the number of stride in a minute, and while the turning happens, what is their body posture and everything. That is something we tried out.
The speed of the wind and a lot of factors.
Yeah, a lot of factors comes into picture. And it was good exploring with the coaches, understanding what really, because we didn't know what KPIs are meant for athletics, okay. Then I got since I was there, I got a very good opportunity to visit the rowing academy at Alapi, which has been trained as SAI centers for rowing. And I could actually visualize how a rowing really technique happens. So it's all technical analytics which actually comes in the picture. The way it's called oars, when you actually row that particular boat, and then how should be your angle, how should be your body's position, and how much is the time we call the paddle or this thing which is there in the water comes up. So there's a lot more things can be done, because I see what is a way of system has been done right now, and how it can be improved in terms of analytics coming in the picture. But it all comes in because how it get funded, who's going to fund that particular analysis, research, and could be done. So because in a team level, it always is team owners or the team which actually funds this particular thing. And in case of an athlete, is it the athlete himself, the coach do it, or the association will take into picture, is what binds this entire set of things. So there has to be someone who can fund the entire analytics and then say, yes, this is something we want to go and approach those things. So that's one of the challenges, but I'm sure if there's a right person coming in, and all the other sports can be explored as well.
Yeah, right. Even a couple of months, I think a month back, this news came, this guy, Srinivas Gowda, who is like breaking the internet and breaking record of Usain Bolt. And then, so what happened, I mean, all of us, the problem is that the mass, we react so quickly that without even knowing the details of it, that okay, we are comparing 142 meters with Usain Bolt's 100 meter, and it's a paddy field running with buffaloes. And I feel in such a scenario, data plays such an important part.
Yeah, correct. So from there, I don't have much comment on that in terms of there might be information. That means like people have seen the timing in that particular distance. I think he ran 14.2 or something, I don't know. And then maybe for 100 meters, what would have been? And because there's something called acceleration which comes up, so you accelerate as the speed increases. The change of speed is what the acceleration comes into picture. And so we have this number. So the number which they use was the timing, okay? But then what was the starting position, from where to where this thing they used, what was the environment at which it was running across. So there are multiple things comes into picture. So you can't blindly go with saying that, hey, you could have been compared with an athlete or not. But I think the overall crux over there is a local talent pool which has been available somewhere. They need to be identified, taken them out and give them that level, because I'm sure any athlete has to develop from a very young age. It can't be done at the age of 24 or 19 or 18 of that sort. It has to be at a 8, 10 and stuff. So if they know a systematic level of learning, and that's when you're going to peak at the age of 22 to 24 or 28. So there's a peaking level which really happens. So the entire basics of analytics, or forget analytics, the basics of a sport, the techniques of sport has been taught at a very young age. So if the guy has been taught in the right way, that's when they're going to go and progress into the top level.
So coming back to sports KPI, I mean KPI for physical sports, the parameters are visible or easily, it can be identified at least by looking at say a particular video from a common viewer perspective. But then I want to know about what are the KPIs, or how is it work similarly in games like chess or esports?
Okay.
So has your team done research on this front?
Done majorly on chess, out of question. We were actually exploring the concept of esport. So it's just exploration, is a very idea stage, because we do analyze a lot of football games, okay, football matches, and then FIFA has been played quite extensively by a lot of players around. And we started looking at the high-end teams which actually play, and because they win quite a big amount of prize money, because the esport itself is quite big outside. And we explored who are the top teams in the world which actually use it. And there's also people who's trying to analyze the way they play. Okay, let's say you play a match in football, the similar way the FIFA game is also being played, in terms of how is your back line, are you pressing it higher, or in the midfield, all those kind of this thing. So we're trying to explore still whether, because we have a footage, people capture the game which is being played, can we analyze those games or not? There's something which we thought of doing it. It's still at a very initial stages to look at how we can take it up. But major to start with is going to be at least a FIFA game is what we might start off.
Okay. And just walk me through how has been the journey of entrepreneurship, because obviously the entire crux of having this series of episodes is to talk about the challenges which an aspiring entrepreneur faces if you want to start something in the sports ecosystem.
See, entrepreneurship, as for overall, whether sports or any other e-commerce or any other technology, it's hard, it's tough. Only if you can have that passion to do it at some level or take it to some level, only that works. All right. So it's going to be a very hard journey in terms of looking at the entire set of things. And coming to a sports field itself, and in India, we started off, when we started off, there was no ISL, there was no Pro Kabaddi or nothing of that sort. I used to follow this I-League happening for the HL team at Kantirava Stadium. And that's when this thing kick-started off. There's the ISL came in 2014. That's when even Pro Kabaddi came into picture. I think we're quite lucky that we started that early and we could able to get those teams around. And the sport itself will evolve. It's not like Pro Kabaddi started using it when the season second, third or not. When it slowly started off looking at things, when things got stabilized, I think season 4 or 5 then started using it. So as an entrepreneur journey, it's very hard, very tough. But one thing in a sport specific, it depends on what is like even in sport, it could be e-sport, it could be fantasy and everything. But the sports right now, the way we are into analytics or analysis and everything, you got to be on the pitch, you got to be on the field. All right, you got to interact with those coaches, you got to interact with the owner, the CEOs and everything to understand how they look at things are. Because for them also, it's not a big business for them to run a sports club. It's not a very profit making for a club from an Indian context. Okay, there's not much of sources of revenue coming in. It's not like abroad you could have merchandising or ticketing sales and everything. It's not too big. I think they only depend on the TV broadcasting rights and everything. So for them, for their business to establish, and then we need to be available in that kind of a thing. So if we can help them in order to get more revenues, win more matches, or reduce them from cost perspective, that's when they want to take it across. So entrepreneurship is tough. You want to understand what is the problem of a client, and then can we solve that? Can we bring some value to it? And then and however things will turn out. And once they see the value coming in, and that's when we want to retain them, start doing some innovative stuff, and that's how it comes in. But it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can relate to it. So, is SportsKPI a funded company or self-sustaining?
Currently, we are bootstrapped. We're trying to raise some money this year now, and so we started looking at I mean, we never focused on going from starting with a venture or trying to look at this thing. So we always looked at spending more time with the team, understanding a lot of stuff. Yeah, so we come to some stage right now, and right now we're looking at some kind of a funding round, which we were trying to close upon.
And how difficult is, or how easy or how difficult it is to find the right people for your domain?
Yeah, so
because see, I being in the sports ecosystem, I mean, it's not easy.
It's not easy. Yeah, true. True. So
how do you hire? How do you hire?
I think we have a good process of. I don't know whether it's good or not, but we have figured out a way. So first is we always look out for a passion for sport. A lot of people come to me when they say, "Hey, we do football analytics," and say, "Hey, so I want to get it hard. I want to work for you and stuff." And the first and foremost question is like, we ask, "Okay, what do you follow?" It's like football, and they will say, "I'm a big fan of some clubs in Europe and stuff." The first question I want to ask them is like, in terms of how much do you know about Indian sports or Indian football? Maybe some people would know BFC and some players around. Okay, can you name the entire Indian national team squad? So some people might know it, might know it. The worst case, like I would say, hey, can you name me a northeastern club and can you name me the list of players? The player, let's say it's Shillong Lajong. Can you name the players who play in Shillong Lajong or to a northeastern team or something? So you know how much depth they know. Okay, because when we hire them, we have to put them in Indian football. We're not going to place them into European things or not. Then the second thing comes in, a lot of data scientists we have, like data science people. So we send them some kind of assignment with the data and tell them to first look at what kind of analysis they can use from a data science perspective, how much knowledge they've gained. And once they send the assignment, we review it, we take a technical round, then we take a business round, and then we have mentors talking to them, understand how much in-depth they want to look at, because I give a lot of importance to the attitude, the passion at which they do it, then a skill, because skill can always be learned. I can even go online and learn that particular thing. Even an aspiring analyst on a football, we would always said, so I want to become an analyst. We would send them a video of a match. Okay, it could be a football or a kabaddi, depending on what is that he's interested upon, and say, I want you to analyze the match. Okay, however you want, in whatever form you want to provide us the information, it's up to you. So we gave them a role, in the sense, you're an analyst of the club, okay, and your team has lost that particular match. So you take any team which has been lost that particular match, and you are supposed to go and provide the analysis to the coach the next day, and what is that you work upon. Okay, so whether you think you want to give in a PDF, Word, it's up to you, because you're supposed to communicate that to the coach and tell them, coach, why do we lose this particular match? And once they come back to us, we know whether how much is the understanding of the game, how much is the thing from an analytical point of view, and that's when we go for the next rounds, which can happen. Yeah, so I think in some way we have thought that would be a right way to look at, and we always look at how much is done, and even prior to coming to applying for us, what has it done before? It could not be like, hey, I just finished my graduation in sports management and I want to come and work for you. No. So even if you've done that, what was the internships have you done? What extra path you have taken to go and do something, and you've done something around and then you come back. So that gives a lot more value for us than company just saying that, okay, I've just graduated and I want to work for you. So that never exists.
Yeah. So Naveen, so the thing is, obviously sports in India is on the rise, the curve is upward, but then all of us agree that the growth is slow.
Okay.
So what do you think? Like, how many years or decades will it take India to go to the another level in terms of analytics and data in sports?
Okay, so I just want to ask, like, when you say growth is slow, in what perspective? Is the growth in terms of the champions we generate, or the growth in number of people taking sport? What exactly?
Everything in parallel. we'll produce more and more champions if we have more and more kids in the grassroots, right?
Yeah, okay. So I have a different opinion in this thing. Maybe at a professional level, we might not be seeing the bigger, the medals or championships or this kind of thing. But if you look at the sport itself, has actually brilliantly has seen a good growth as of now, okay? In terms of the kids enrolling themselves day in, day out, working for academies around. I think I would say they're close to, even in Bangalore, or maybe like All India Football Federation has certified close to 80 odd academies across India who are actually accredited with the All India Football Federation. In that, close to, I think in Bangalore itself, there are 10 top academies where there are almost like a 2,000 to 3,000 kids they've been enrolled and they play football each day in, day out. The sports infrastructure has actually developed. There are close to 60 odd football turf in Bangalore. There are a lot more badminton academies have come up, and everyone can actually take up sport in that kind of a level. Along with that, the education system, maybe way back 2012, if I want to learn sports management before getting this particular thing, I could hardly see 1 or 2 colleges and I had to look at only to apply abroad. Now, we actually work with some of the institutes as well to teach them sports analytics for the kids. So there are at least close to 10 sports management schools have come up. Who actually trying to make sports managers as professional. So that when you see a lot of people coming out, they would come as managers who actually learn sports management, and they'll be coming in, working with some sports companies around. So that way, from infrastructure, the academies, the grassroots coming in, and also the academics, which is the educational thing, is coming up, that has seen a vast growth in coming into picture. And thirdly is also in terms of the parents themselves putting a lot of investment on the kids. You would see parents bring them the kids at 5 o'clock early in the morning, get them to the academy, get them trained, take them back to school, and they do all this other stuff. And I've seen a lot of dedication coming from a parent, and they have figured out, hey, this is more important also, along with my studies. And I've seen a lot of parents, I interact with a lot of parents as well. And some parents, they want themselves, the kids, to see their videos around, see how good is he actually playing on the match. Even if the coach doesn't want to do it, but the parents have been investing on those technologies as well, and say, I want to look at how my son is able to do it.
So how different is Indian sport data system from that of the European world? And data companies like Intel and SAP are heavily involved with La Liga and DFB. So are Indian clubs open to hiring data teams?
Oh yes, I think if you look at cricket as a different ball game, so a lot of data points come in, every ball has been tracked, and a lot of information comes in the picture. Even technologies like sensor on the bat can give you a lot more information of the speed at which the bat has been moved and everything. So the first question is on the difference with the Indian data systems and the European data system. See, the data are coming from different sources of information. Your sleep is the data. How much you sleep, because it gives you a lot more importance for the recovery part of the body of athlete. The sleep, the nutrition content, the calorie intake of the food you take up, then the fitness, like when you play the match, how much is your training load, what's your heart rate, so that comes into picture. Then the performance data. I would say even there's 4 things which is coming in. Let's say how many runs you make, how many goals you score, and everything. Can all this data can speak to each other? That means you slept maybe just 6 hours. Was your performance low or not? You got injured, and then before the injury, your heart rate or your fitness was so and so, but after injury, what really happened? Before injury, you have been scoring those many runs. So can this data talk to each other, and can the management look at this information on the right time, not looking at, the can decision be made based how quick the information can happen? I think that in Europe, these kind of things are happening, but India still it's all standalone or isolated right now. That's what my perspective. That can be improved, and that's what the things still come in. And yes, Intel, SAP have done a lot more work on this thing. I think SAP, we have been in talks with SAP in the last year, and they were actually looking at Indian market as well. But then I don't know whether the business model really helped them or not. Currently, they're not doing much of activity from Indian context, because for them, implementing in Germany, implementing ERP for sports academies and all is a bigger market for them in European standard. But from Indian context, is it the need of the hour or not? Is something they're still exploring if this thing comes or not. So again, the technology has to have some kind of a revenue stream coming in, and is it a viable model or not? So these things are really actually coming up. But it takes time for the bigger markets to see that whether India is a bigger market in this. But majorly for India as a fan market, it's huge. That's when La Ligas, EPL, and everyone's trying to put in money in terms of fan engagement more than the performance-driven things over there.
So is Sports KPI planning to get into the fan engagement KPI parameters as well?
Yeah, so we currently not seen in the fan from the like from the stadium perspective, but we are actually working with some of the fantasy companies around, fantasy league companies, where for them the fan actually bets money on the platform. So we give a lot of analytical content to them. How should you to help them in terms of to help them to bet much more better, and that's the one way we are interacting with the fan perspective. So we might look at from a media angle or multiple set of things, but not directly where we work with the fan on a one-on-one role. That's not been currently been there. Maybe in future, with so much of information we have, we might also want to do it, and maybe it comes up.
So yeah, we will wrap up.
Sure.
Thank you, Naveen, for speaking with us and giving your time. And we wish Sports KPI all the very best for future and all of your endeavors. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bridge, for getting me here. It was great sharing my experience and learning with your team. Thank you.